Hello guys, this is What If Naruto was in high school DxD, and let's get started. Nordic Prophecy 1368, October. Have a safe trip, Papa. Yasaka shouted as she waved Naruto goodbye. Stay safe, Intern Empress. Naruto shouted as he waved back with a bright smile. He walked backwards down the road, heading towards the port. Again, you could just teleport to Norway and save us all the trouble. Kurama grumbled. If I did, then Yasaka's first-hand experience as a leader will not mean anything. Naruto thought as he entered Sage mode and took off in a run, making good time. Don't you want her to gain experience? Kurama grumbled before he went silent. I thought so. Naruto chuckled with a smirk as he continued to run, eventually making it to the port as the sun started to set all the way on the opposite side of Japan. Asgard. Odin laughed as he heard his newly collected prophecy. You say a blonde man with whisker marks from the east will come here? He asked as he got ready to depart from Asgard himself. Yes, Lord Odin. The manifestation of said prophecy replied. He will arrive here in 9 days, by foot. So says fate. Odin laughed as he finished dressing, wearing simple robes as he grabbed his spear Gungnir. Well, that should give me enough time. Odin stated as he began to leave, the manifestation of the prophecy fading into Odin's storage vault. Father, where are you going? Thor asked as he saw the All-Father heading toward the Bifrost. Thor was a tall man. Muscular with red hair, facial hair, and emerald green eyes. He wore blue and gray breast and back plate with fur lining the edges. A thick chain around his neck holding his shrinking hammer, Mjolnir. He wore a black cloak over his shoulders. I am heading to the branches of Yggdrasil. Odin stated as he pulled his hood over his head. I am going to gain new knowledge. Thor sighed with a sweat drop. Can I accompany you? Thor asked as he followed Odin. Of course, Thor. Odin said as the two left the castle. Loki, a thin man with long silver teal hair, watched from afar as Thor and Odin vanished on the Rainbow Bridge's temple. Loki. Freya, or do you prefer Frigg? Loki asked his fellow Aesir when she appeared. Freya was a gorgeous woman wearing an earth green and brown dress. She had flowing blonde hair and lime green eyes befitting of the Vanir she once led. She scowled and yanked on the Jotun's ear, nearly tearing it off. Odin might put up with your bullshit, but that doesn't mean I will. She stated clearly as Loki struggled to break free. Oh, mother. Please don't be too hard on Loki. Freya released Loki and turned, smiling brightly at her son, Baldur. Oh, Baldur, I wasn't being mean to him. Freya said in a doting tone. Baldur held Freya's beauty with soft porcelain skin, short wavy blonde hair like a field of wheat, and his father's blue eyes. He wore simple white robes with a splash of gray across his chest with a sash. He carried himself gracefully with each movement he made. Loki, meanwhile, growled as he left the mother and son alone. He stormed out of the castle, walking across the meadow. Oi, Loki. Tyr, the Norse god of war, called out as he held a giant wolf pup. Want to see how your kid is doing? Loki ignored Tyr, which made the puppy whimper in sadness. Oh, don't worry, Fenrir. Tyr said as he rubbed the giant wolf's head with tender care. He is probably under a lot of stress. Fenrir whimpered again. Loki went to the Bifrost temple, ignoring Heimdallr. Destination, Midgard. He stated as he activated the Bifrost on his own, causing a rainbow to appear, connecting both Asgard and Midgard together. 1. Loki appeared in Midgard before he teleported above the mighty waves of the Atlantic Ocean. As he floated above the waves, two massive glowing eyes shone from their depths, revealing a large shadow under the waves that extended all across the world. Meanwhile, branches of Yggdrasil. Odin stripped himself bare, leaving only a loincloth. "Father, this is insane," Thor stated in vain as he attempted to talk his father out of what he was planning to do. "It isn't worth. Knowledge is worth any price, my son." Odin interrupted as he took a rope and fastened it to the root. "I carved out my own eye when Mimir asked me for it so I could drink from his well of knowledge without hesitation. So, I shall not hesitate here." "Father," Thor started to say before he was forced to dodge Odin's spear, Gungnir. "In 9 days, a man named Naruto Uzumaki shall appear, looking for me. When he arrives, give him all the courtesy we have. Now, the runes require a sacrifice," Odin stated before he tied the rope around his neck. "Do not give me any help. Not even to give me water. If you do, there will be hell to pay." Odin proceeded to stab himself with Gungnir, straight into his chest, causing him to fall backwards off the branch before the rope tightened and held him with his own gravity, his blood dripping down the staff of Gungnir. And there Odin hung for 9 days and 8 nights. 9th night. "It sure is much colder here than in Japan." Naruto, now age 39, shuddered as he held his furred cloak close to his body, as the snowy wind picked up in intensity. "You want a bear skin?" the friendly Jotun who was helping Naruto through the Bifrost temple asked. "I would, thank you." Naruto thanked as the Jotun gave him a spare bear skin. "Ah, much better. I'm glad I could be of help," the Jotun stated before he stopped. "This is as far as I can go. I'm sorry, but if I go further, Thor the Thunderer could attack and kill me." Naruto took notice of the Jotun's anger. "Does he kill a lot of Jotuns?" Naruto asked sincerely. The Jotun choked up. "Yes, my father and sister were some of them," he said sadly as he clenched his fist. Naruto nodded in understanding. "Is this how you felt, Sasuke?" Naruto thought as he paid the Jotun handsomely for his troubles before he continued on to the Bifrost temple. This sense of anger, sadness, and desire for retribution? "Who are you?" someone asked as Naruto neared. Naruto turned and saw a tall man, bearing a sword as large as he was, clad in simple armor and a helmet on which a rooster stood upon. Naruto stood up straight, unafraid of this man. "I am Naruto Uzumaki, and I am here to meet Odin, the All-Father," Naruto said as he held out the letter Odin wrote over a decade and a half earlier. The man took the letter and opened it. "I see," he said as he stood up and bowed. "My apologies, Lord Uzumaki, I am Heimdallr, guardian of the Bifrost." He motioned for Naruto to follow him, opening the temple door, to reveal a circular table, surrounded by 8 doors, each with a different color crystal before them. "Wow," Naruto muttered as Heimdallr led him to the table. Heimdallr smirked at Naruto's amazement as he set the table's coordinates to Asgard. "Enjoy, Lord Uzumaki," Heimdallr offered as he activated the Bifrost. Naruto nodded as he watched in fascination as the mechanism of the Bifrost activated, the colors of the rainbow swirling all around him before a condensed beam of light entered a gold crystal, shooting through it before a pillar of light shot upward, engulfing the table and Naruto. Naruto closed his eyes, expecting something to happen, but only heard the sounds of the Bifrost slowly fade. The light glowed gold while Heimdallr opened the door. "Welcome, Lord Uzumaki, to Asgard," Heimdallr stated as Naruto exited the Bifrost temple. "This is amazing." Naruto chuckled as he smiled at the difference in architecture and agriculture. Heimdallr looked up and saw a Valkyrie on a winged horse heading their way. "I shall leave you in her care, Lord Uzumaki," Heimdallr stated as he re-entered the temple and returned to his post. Naruto whistled as he saw the Valkyrie. She had short-cut silver hair. The battle attire she consisted of a white breastplate with gold and pale blue accents and matching, fingerless gauntlets, boots, hip guards, and wing-shaped hair clips. She wore a black leotard underneath her breastplate, black thigh-high stockings, and a pale blue cloth wrapped underneath her hip guards, all of which are clad with pink lacing. She held a very voluptuous figure under the armor. At her left hip was a broad sword, on her left arm was a small circular shield with. She is powerful, Naruto thought as the unnamed Valkyrie got off her horse, walking up to him. Greetings, Lord Uzumaki, she said with a bow. We have been awaiting your arrival, as foretold by Lord Odin. My name is Gondel, and I shall be your guide during your stay. If there are any questions you have, or anything else, please don't hesitate to talk to me. 2. Gives loyal a whole new meaning, right, Naruto? Isabu joked. Naruto bowed back, ignoring the turtle's words. So, you knew I was already coming? Naruto asked curiously. Yes, Gondel answered instantly, throwing Naruto off a bit. The All-Father is a collector of prophecies. And he received one of you arriving this day. Oh, that's interesting, Naruto replied nervously. Man, she is cute, but her personality is something to be desired. So, where is the All-Father? Naruto asked as he looked around, entering sage mode and sensing several gods within Asgard's castle walls. I don't seem to be able to find him. My apologies, but the All-Father isn't here, Gondel explained. He went off to acquire knowledge, but he might be back soon. Naruto deflated a bit. What, he said like a child who didn't get what they wanted. That's rude of him. Gondel didn't reply, not wanting to say something that could land her in trouble. However, I do know where he is if you so desire to see him now, Gondel replied. Yes, I would like to meet him now, Naruto said with a thankful tone. 10 minutes later. Holy shit! Naruto shouted in shock when he arrived at the branches of Yggdrasil on the winged horse's back with Gondel, who was at the reins. Before him Odin hung with Gungnir impaling his chest, his face staring down to the roots of Yggdrasil, waiting for the runes to show themselves when his sacrifice was accepted. Lord Odin has been here for 9 days, and tomorrow morning will be 9 nights. Gondel explained as they landed on the branches. He was adamant on not being helped. Lord Uzumaki, where are you going? Naruto jumped off the horse and ran to the rope that held Odin up. Wait, Lord Naruto! Gondel shouted as she jumped off her horse, grabbing Naruto's wrist and pulling him away with strength that she didn't appear to have. Lord Odin stated clearly not to help or disturb him. Your leader is hanging from a damn tree, Naruto shouted as he pulled his hand out of Gondel's grasp. I'm going to cut him down. Without hesitation, Gondel drew her sword and cut Naruto's palm open, spraying his blood on Yggdrasil's branch, soaking into the wood as Naruto's palm started to close, stemming the bleeding. Naruto glared at Gondel as she bared her shield, which expanded with a Norse seal matrix. Her sword had intricate carvings that glowed with magic as Gondel utilized her magic through her weapons. I am telling you again, she warned strictly. The All-Father ordered for no help until he got what he wanted, so that includes you too. Naruto and Gondel stood still as a wind blew across the branch on which they stood and Odin hung, the sun slowly creeping up and bathing the land in its glow. A single leaf fell between the two, twisting, turning, swaying before it landed on the branch. Naruto and Gondel shot forward, posed to strike before they stopped when Odin gasped, moving on the rope. He stared deep within Yggdrasil's roots. The runes appeared before his eye, only allowing him to see them, allowing him to gain the knowledge they held secret. All-Father! Gondel called out as she dropped her weapons and knelt before the rope, looking down at the excited Odin. All-Father, what's wrong? I've done it! Odin shouted gleefully as he gained the ability to decipher and use runes. I did it! He grabbed the rope that connected him to the branch, and with a tug, he flung himself upward, did a flourish spin that dislodged Gungnir. Odin landed on his feet, hand up to catch his spear. Hey, ha 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 ha. he laughed loudly with a massive, toothy smile. "Father!" Thor shouted as he arrived with Freya and Baldur. "Are you all right?" Odin grinned wider as he pulled the noose off his neck. "Am I all right?" "Of course I am, my boy," he declared proudly before he took notice of Naruto. "Oh, welcome, Naruto Uzumaki, hero of the faction war." Thor, Freya, and Baldur turned and blinked. "What?" they shouted when they realized what Odin had said as Naruto nervously waved with Gondel sheathing her sword in shame and stood behind him, awaiting any further help Naruto might need. "Hello," Naruto said as Odin got dressed, chuckling to himself. "It seems that when you arrived, they weren't here to greet you," Odin stated as he looked toward Gondel. "Thank you, Gondel. You did an excellent job in following my orders." "I thank you for your praise, All-Father," Gondel replied with deep respect and honesty. "Now, Naruto," Odin said as he grabbed Gungnir and put an arm around Naruto's neck. "Let's go get a drink. You spent over a week traveling here, so let's unwind a bit before we talk business." "Sure, I could use a drink," Naruto said as he and Odin walked away with Gondel following them with her horse taking Thor, Freya, and Baldur back to Asgard. 4 days later, Asgard. Naruto sighed in relief as he and Odin finished settling the alliance. "Phew," Odin sighed as he relaxed. "Man, that was quite a doozy." "It sure was, brother." Naruto blinked. "Who said that?" Naruto asked as it was only himself and Odin in the room. "It was I, Mimir." "Fuck," Naruto shouted when he shot backwards when the head Odin had at his waist spoke. Aga ha 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 ha. Odin laughed as Naruto hit the ground. "Holy shit, that head is talking," Naruto shouted as he stumbled to get up. "Lord Mimir is the advisor to Lord Odin, Lord Uzumaki," Gondel informed as she entered the room with a tray with water on it. "After he was beheaded, Lord Odin preserved his head, and he can talk to give advice." "Thank you for the quick summary, Gondel," Mimir thanked as Odin placed his head on the table. "What else you going to scare me with, Odin?" Naruto demanded as he got up, picking up his chair. Odin smirked. He snapped his fingers and the manifestation of prophecies appeared. "What shall I help with today, Lord Odin?" Mop asked as it took the form of wisps of smoke with darker areas resembling eye sockets and a mouth, with tiny limbs acting as arms. "Naruto, this is the manifestation of prophecies," Odin informed Naruto. "When I collect them, I put them inside it, storing them for further use later on. So, Prof, is there anything you can tell Naruto concerning his future?" Mop hummed as it faced Naruto, who sat back down and didn't look impressed. "I don't have to know anything about my future," Naruto informed. "If I know what will happen." Mop went stiff, their eyes and mouth glowing orange before it let out a haunting wail. "For the child whose palms bear the sun and moon, life as you know shall change," Mop stated in an eerie tone. "Enemies thought defeated shall arise, your kingdom shall live, blood not spilled. In turn, a tan beauty awaits at the end of the road." Naruto blinked as Mop blinked, the orange glow vanishing. "And that is pretty boring," Odin stated as he cleaned his ear with his pinky. Naruto looked at his palms, seeing the crescent moon and the sun on his palms. "So, an old enemy of mine will attack. But which one? Will it be a devil? Or a fallen? Or maybe one of the many yokai who don't approve of me will attack?" Naruto thought as he rattled his brain. "But no blood shall be spilled, that's good, right? But then a tan beauty? Meaning I'll get remarried? Yeah, right. If that's it, Odin, then I would like to rest up for the night and then return home tomorrow," Naruto said as he stood up, back and shoulders feeling stiff. If you don't believe Propha's prophecies, then you'll be in for a shock. Mimir advised. It's better to believe them, because they haven't been wrong before. Meanwhile, Kyoto. Yasaka groaned in annoyance as she signed paperwork. How did Mama and Papa deal with this, she thought as she signed paper after paper after paper after paper after paper. It seemed to never end. Alright, Yasaka. Damamaru said as he heaved a new stack of papers onto Yasaka's desk. Finish these and you will be done for the week. Yasaka blinked several times before she smiled stupidly, heavily feeling light-headed before she face-planted into the desk. Papa needs to teach me shadow clones. Yasaka whimpered. Countryside. A familiar group toiled away in the sun, working their small plot of land into suitable soil for their next harvest. Phew, this is working up a sweat. Kamatari stated as he wiped sweat off of his face. Hey, if you have time to talk, you can take the rocks over there and get rid of them. His sister Temari stated in an exhausted tone as she and Ibius the salamander use garden hose to soften the soil. Fine, fine. Kamatari groaned as he walked over and started to throw the rocks into the nearby valley, where the sound of the rocks hitting them echoed in said valley. Gozu. Temari shouted as she looked around for the new of their family, but couldn't see him. Gozu. Ibius looked around and could not feel Gozu's presence, but went still as he felt another being draw closer to them. He tapped Temari's arm frantically and sighed for the soon-to-be arrival. What's going on? Kamatari asked when he finished removing the stones. Before Ibius or Temari could inform him of their guest, a shadow appeared above them, growing bigger before the three moved and saw Gozu, now a slashed-up corpse. Kamatari and Temari's eyes widened in horror as Gozu's blood soaked into the earth as Ibius fell to his knees, silently screaming on the inside. Sorry for the bad news, but I found him on the side of the road, begging for help. A seductive female voice said, making them turn to see a cloaked woman. You! Kamatari shouted in anger, nearly lashing out as he shed tears. Did you do this? The woman in question smirked at his accusation. No. The woman said as she pulled back her hood to reveal her face and fox ears. But he did want a message for you. Temari put her hand on Ibius' shoulder, gripping it tightly as the salamander yokai grieved. What did he say? Temari demanded. He said the false emperor attacked me suddenly. Tell my siblings. And then he died. The woman replied as she pulled out a chunk of clothing and threw it at Kamatari, who caught it. His eyes widened as he recognized the scent. It was Naruto's scent. Who are you? And can you help us? Kamatari asked in anger as he glared at the woman. I am Azula, daughter of the captured Ozai. Azula introduced. And I can help you kill the false emperor. Relics of past life. Asgard. Naruto laughed as Fenrir the wolf licked his face, having jumped Naruto as he was leaving. Okay. Naruto laughed as he tried to get up, but Fenrir's giant paw kept him on his back. Fenrir, let me go. Fenrir ignored Naruto's pleas as he continued to lick Naruto's face, his tail wagging back and forth in excitement. Okay, that's enough, Fenrir. Tyr said as he put his hands on Fenrir's neck, gripping his fur tightly before pulling the wolf pup off of Naruto, soaked in saliva and smelling like dog breath. He sure likes you, Naruto. I know, I don't know why though. Naruto said as he wiped off all of the saliva. But he is a good boy. Fenrir smiled as Naruto proceeded to rub his head. Despite being a puppy, Fenrir was 10 feet in length, 4 feet in height. Fenrir. Fenrir looked over and stood up as Loki walked gracefully across the field, having returned from Midgard, and held an irritated look as Fenrir trotted over to him. Fenrir sat on his haunches, acting serious as Loki patted his head. Hey Tyr, who is that? Naruto asked in a whisper as he leaned in towards Tyr and covered his mouth. Oh, that's Loki. Fenrir's father. Tyr explained in a whisper as Loki and Fenrir proceeded to leave to Asgard's castle. He normally doesn't spend much time with Fenrir, so this is strange. Naruto nodded and looked at Loki. His eyes sharpened as he narrowed as Loki glanced darkly at him. Yeah, he is up to no good. Naruto thought as he grabbed his bag and prepared to go home. But before I go home. He entered the Bifrost temple and activated it. Odin said Svartalfheim is the land of the dwarves, right? Naruto thought as he input the location, hitting the mechanism. The temple lit up once again, glowing an earth green before the light columns sent him to Svartalfheim. He exited the temple and was surprised. Instead of an open realm, full of life and culture, all Naruto saw was cavern-like walls, the sounds of forges and tools striking metal and rock bouncing off said walls. The torches and forges giving off the sources of light. It smelled of smoke and was dark where there was no forge or torch. Hey! Naruto turned and saw a dwarf female. She was a plump woman, with red braided hair as she wore goggle-like glasses on her head and wore a mining outfit, fit with gloves and a pickaxe. Who are you? She demanded rudely as she pulled out a bottle of alcohol and took a heavy chug. It ain't really a safe place for tourists. I am Naruto, and I would like to talk to the best blacksmith. Naruto informed. The dwarf sneered at him before she finished her drink, throwing the empty bottle behind her as she belched. You want to talk to the Huldra brothers? She asked as she wiped her lips of any liquid. What's your reason? A commission. Naruto replied, not really liking her rude behavior. The dwarf scoffed and started to walk away. Follow me. She grunted in irritation. Well, come on. Don't want you to lose your fucking way down here. Naruto followed her. Astrid. She stated as she took a lantern and handed it to Naruto. What? Astrid. She stated again angrily as she turned. It's my name. You gave me yours, so I gave you mine. Oh, thank you. Don't need your gratitude. Astrid interrupted angrily. Now follow me. She is so damn rude. Naruto thought as he continued to follow Astrid. They passed many forges, all dwarves who were there looked like young children. Some had small beards, some had long beards going to the floor. Nearly all had them in braids. Some were round and fat, while the rest were thin. All of them, men and women, had muscles on their arms. The dwarven children ran around, unhindered or disturbed by the construction of Svartalfheim around them. This is a nice place. Naruto commented as he saw a workshop area, where the workers wore magnifying lenses as they worked on intricate jewelry pieces. Whatever. Astrid grunted as she turned left, to which Naruto followed. How come the ceiling is so high? Naruto asked as he took notice that he could stand perfectly straight, and his head was nowhere close to the ceiling. We made them this way in case the Aesir came a-knocking. Astrid replied. Now stop asking questions. Naruto frowned as the two of them delved further into the earth of Svartalfheim. Here. Astrid stated as she motioned toward the rightmost door, which had several hot pipes through the wall. The Huldra brothers are in there. She walked off, leaving Naruto alone as he approached the door. Explosion. God fucking damn it. Naruto caught a chunk of the wall flew out randomly as the explosion went off. He barged into the forge. Is everyone alright? Naruto shouted in a panic. Cough, cough, of course we aren't alright, you cocklump. As the smoke cleared, two dwarf males appeared. The room around them was a massive forge, huge smoke pipes leading out through the walls, and ceiling with workbenches, and many tools strewn around. Lord Brock, must you insult a guest? one of them said. He was quite thin. He wore golden armor and thick red leather gloves on his hands. He wore an apron with various tools in them with a leather bag tied to his hip. He had short dull gray hair tied into a small ponytail to keep it pulled back, and he had a wispy beard and mustache. I'll insult whoever I want to, Sindri. Brock snapped as he got up. Like Sindri, Brock wore gold armor, but his arms were exposed. His skin was a deep blue, he was bald, except some hair on the side of his head, and had a thick beard on his chin. Like Sindri, he wore an apron with black smithing tools in the pockets. Sindri sighed and turned to Naruto. Forgive his rudeness, Sindri apologized. We are the Huldra brothers, Sindri and Brock. How can we be of service today? Naruto gave a sigh of relief. Finally, someone who is nice. He thought as he extended his hand. I am Naruto, it is nice to meet you. Naruto greeted, expecting Sindri to take his hand to shake it. But Sindri backed away and looked disgusted. Yeah, you can put that away, he said in an apologetic tone. Brock laughed hard at this as he stepped up next to his brother, showing that he was ever so slightly shorter than Sindri. Don't worry about him, he is, what you call it? He said as he scratched his nuts and thought. Afraid of germs. Oh, I see. Naruto replied in confusion at the display. I am sorry, Sindri. Oh, it's no problem. Sindri said as he gave Naruto some water, being very careful to not touch Naruto's hand. Here, this should help with the dirt in the air. I know how it can make it hard to breathe. So, what can we help you with today? Well, I have a bizarre request, Naruto said as he drank the water. Sindri and Brock leaned in with interest. What kind of request? Brock demanded. Mt. Olympus. In his forge, Hephaestus wiped his forehead of sweat. He hummed and thought as he held the weapon in his hand to examine it. Well, it is good enough. But I think I'll shelve it and come back to it another time. He indeed shelved the weapon on his to-be-continued shelf and cracked his neck. Ah, that felt good. He stood up, using a crutch to help him stand due to his feeble leg. I guess I'll go get some lunch. I wonder if Aphrodite is willing to eat with me. She better not be fucking Ares again. Whoa, did not want to hear that one. Hephaestus whipped around and saw Naruto, Brock, and Sindri. Oh, it's you, Naruto. Hephaestus sighed as he cupped his chest. You scared me. Sorry about that, old friend. Naruto apologized. Hurry up. Brock urged rudely. I want to get to making these weapons. I want to test my skills. And these tools, Sindri said in fascination as he saw how neat and organized Hephaestus kept his forge. They are so different from the ones we use in Svartalfheim. Hephaestus was intrigued by the new arrivals. I am Hephaestus, god of blacksmithing and the forge. Hephaestus introduced as he sat down. The Huldra brothers, Brock and Sindri. Sindri introduced politely. Yeah, happy greetings. Let's get to weapon making. Brock stated as he had a fire in his eyes as he held up his hammer. I am rearing to go. Hephaestus quirked an eyebrow as he turned to Naruto. Who lit a fire under his ass? I did. Naruto explained. Because I had an idea. Oh, and what is this idea? Hephaestus asked in interest. I want. Naruto started to say before he was jumped from the back, slender arms and legs snaking around his arms and waist. Naruto Aphrodite screamed in happiness as she held herself into Naruto's back. I got you. A puff of smoke revealed the Naruto she was holding as a log. What are you doing here? Naruto asked as he stood behind her, ready to react to any trick she might pull. We are busy with work, so get out of here. Brock was drooling from Aphrodite's beauty and Sindri blushed, feeling uncomfortable, as she stood up. "Why am I here?" "I am here to see you," Aphrodite seductively said as she carried herself with grace. Naruto pinched his nose as he sighed in irritation. "Now," Aphrodite thought as she crouched and lunged for Naruto, only to get grabbed by her shoulder by Naruto. Without any trouble, Naruto spun on his feet and hurled Aphrodite through the door, shattering the wood, and she went flying off of empty Olympus down to the base of the mountain. "Damn, that was hot," Brock acknowledged. "Oh, Odin, you are so nasty." Sindri sighed in disgust at Brock's behavior. "Well, besides my wife's interference, why are you here?" Hephaestus asked as he set up a new door. "I want to make 7 swords," Naruto stated calmly as he pulled out a scroll. Hours later, Kyoto. "Yasaka, I'm home," Naruto called out as he entered the compound. "Yasaka?" He didn't hear any response. Where is she?" Naruto thought as he put his bag down and walked to her room. Knock, knock. "Yasaka." Naruto called out again as he knocked on her door. No response. He opened her door. "Oh, she isn't here," he thought as he took stock of that fact. His face softened as he saw the Tamamo doll on her folded futon. Naruto entered and sat on the ground, picking the toy up and holding it in his hands. "I was never able to find out who or what made you," he thought as he held the doll. "But I thank whoever made you because you helped Yasaka through her grieving." He smiled a bit more before he put the doll back and left Yasaka's room, lest she hit him for being in her room. I wonder what I should get her for her birthday," Naruto questioned as he walked to his room, wanting to take a nap before lunch. Only to stop near his office when he heard a groan. Naruto entered his office and started laughing, collapsing as he gripped his ribs tightly as his lungs expelled the oxygen in them. Yasaka was hunched over his desk, eyes sunk and skin clinging to her bones as she mumbled incoherently as she signed paperwork as if on autopilot. Her ears were drooped and her tails hung limply behind her. "Yasaka," Naruto said as he got up and walked to her, putting his hand on her back. Her ears twitched a few times before she slowly and tiredly turned her head. Life returned to her eyes as she recognized Naruto, who was snickering at her. "Papa!" Yasaka shouted happily as she hugged him. "I missed you, thank the gods I won't have to do any more paperwork." Naruto laughed as she returned to her normal self. "Well, how did it go?" Naruto asked as he was gone for over 10 days. "I can say that I don't envy your position, nor do I look forward to taking this responsibility," Yasaka replied as she shuddered. "Though I do know when I learn shadow clones it will be easier." "You will get good enough to not even need shadow clones, like I did," Naruto informed as he ruffled her hair. "Now, let's go get some lunch." "Okay." Naruto and Yasaka sat in their kitchen, slurping up ramen. "Oh." Yasaka and Naruto cheered in happiness with stars in their eyes. Ramen is the food of the gods. They continued to eat, making Toshimi and Damamaru smile as they ate their food. "So, how did the negotiations with the Aesir go?" Toshimi asked as she looked at Naruto. "It went well," Naruto replied, cheeks like a squirrel as they were stuffed with noodles. "They were really nice and respectful. Except a few dwarves I had the pleasure of meeting." "You met some dwarves?" Yasaka asked in curiosity. "Yeah, I did when I went to Svartalfheim," Naruto informed before he swallowed, turning red in the face as he could barely do it before he was able to get the food into his stomach. "Because I needed them and Hephaestus's help with a special project." "What is the project?" Damamaru asked as he was interested. Naruto smirked as he pulled out a sealing scroll and opened it. He rolled 7 feet of paper out, revealing 7 different seals with a different kanji within the space. Something from my past that me and some friends thought of remaking. Naruto stated cryptically as he touched one seal. The seal glowed brightly, the kanji vanishing as a large sword appeared. Whoa, a sword? Yasaka said in sarcastic awe, not impressed with the sword.
This, Yasaka, is the Kubikiriboko. Naruto stated fondly as he held it in his hands.
It was a giant sword with a butcher knife-like appearance, with a circular cutout near the tip and a semicircle near the guard. It's just a hunk of metal. Yasaka replied with a shrug. You won't understand, so to explain why, I had the Hulder brothers and Hephaestus help me make these 7 swords. Naruto explained as he sealed Kubikiribocho away. I want to establish a specialized force called the 7 Swordsmen of Kyoto. Now this, quirked eyebrows of interest. Spring, 1369. Yasaka, age 17, looked into her burned hand. I did it? She thought as she held up her hand, where a completed Rasengan spun. Congratulations, Yasaka. Naruto said happily as he clapped his hands. You really decided to take your time learning the Rasengan, but still did better than Pervy Sage and Dad. Yasaka thrusted the Rasengan into a tree, destroying it as she carved into the wood, making her smile brighter as she ended the jutsu. It took me over 7 months, but I learned it without shadow clones. She declared before she collapsed, being caught by Naruto. So, you going to teach it to me now? Sure. Naruto chuckled as he hugged her, kissing her head as he sat down, pulling his teen daughter into his lap. It's quite simple, really. But you might have some trouble. How so? You make them without much effort. Yasaka pointed out as she remembered all the times Naruto made shadow clones throughout her life, where the clones just appeared beside him at any moment. Well, let me explain how you do this. Naruto stated, nudging Yasaka out of his lap so she could watch what he did. Yasaka watched Naruto make the hand sign for the shadow clone jutsu. Now, it isn't as simple as weaving a hand sign for an elemental jutsu. Naruto explained as he summoned a single clone, which was half as strong as Naruto himself. When I learned this, I had a large amount of chakra and no control. I learned this before I started training my chakra control with tree climbing and water walking. Oh really? That doesn't seem so bad since I know how to control my chakra, unlike you, Papa. Yasaka taunted with a shit-eating smirk, which Naruto ignored. Okay, I am a master of making shadow clones, but since you are learning it, you must use a hand sign. Naruto said as he made a cross-like hand sign with his index and middle fingers. Yasaka copied him. Now, what you have to do is split your chakra in half, equally and evenly. Naruto explained. Then take the chakra and expel it from within you, and when you do, imagine it take the shape of your body, and then it happens. You get the benefits of the clones. That seems hard. Yasaka said with a deadpan. It is. But I believe you can do it. Naruto said as he looked at her. From what I can feel, you could make about 20 clones safely. Yasaka looked at her hands, still in the hand sign position. Worth a shot. Yasaka thought with a shrug as she closed her eyes. Divide my chakra evenly and equally, then expel it with the thought of it taking the form of me. Naruto felt Yasaka's chakra divide. Good, now send half of that into the fingers that make the hand sign. Naruto instructed calmly. Yasaka did as asked with no visual showing she heard him from how hard she was concentrating. Now expel it. Yasaka started to sweat as she tried to expel her chakra to form the shadow clone. She then felt what might have been an implosion run through her body as she forced the chakra out of her body before it returned and merged back with her chakra. Fuck. Yasaka shouted as her eyes opened and looked at her hands, seeing that they were shaking and the feelings in her fingers were starting to fade on top of the cuts and scrapes. It's what happens when one is starting, Naruto said as he took her hands in his, calming her down and drawing her attention to him. This will happen until you are able to make a clone this way. Are you sure you want to continue, Yasaka? Yasaka looked into his worried eyes. He went through this? And he said his chakra was bigger than mine and so the rebound would be much worse. Yasaka thought in realization, her hands shaking from the immense pain added from the previous injuries from her Rasengan training. Yes. Yasaka stated shakily as she moved her hands from his, putting them back into the cross-hand sign. I will continue until I am able to make these clones. End of the day. Yasaka gasped in pain, her hands bleeding as she held a big smile on her face. I did it, Papa. She declared proudly. Naruto smiled with pride as he clapped. Yes, you did, now let's get you healed and bathed. He stated as he got up and took her in his arms. Yasaka purred when he kissed her forehead. Love you, Papa. She mumbled tiredly before she yawned. Love you too, Yasaka. Naruto replied. Flashback. For the child whose palms bear the sun and moon, life as you know shall change. MOP stated in an eerie tone. Enemies thought defeated shall arise, your kingdom shall live, blood not spilled. In turn, a tan beauty awaits at the end of the road. End flashback. Naruto became forlorn as he entered the compound, the hot spring being his destination. This prophecy does have me a bit worried. He thought in paranoia. I don't want my baby to go through a war at all. Countryside. Come on, we can go right now. Kamatari shouted at Azula, who was unfazed by his outburst. We have an army assembled, so why should we still wait? Azula pursed her lips into a smirk. Isn't it obvious? She asked as she walked up to him, making him step back. We can't go in blindly. If we do, defeat is most likely our outcome. We need to wait and find his weakness. Yeah, like what? Tamari stated sarcastically as she sharpened her scythe. We have fought him, so we know his strength firsthand. Tisk, tisk. Azula sked as she waved her finger. You forget, I have someone on the inside, listening into all events going on in the capital. Yeah, who? Tamari questioned. Azula's smirk got bigger. My father, Ozai. He is still alive in the dungeon, relaying messages to me. Azula replied with her hand on her chest. And recently, he got information on some weapons we can use. Tamari and Kamatari were amused. What kind of weapons? Kamatari asked. The false emperor killing type of weapons. 7 in total. Azula replied deviously. All we need to do is steal them, and then our chances of victory shall increase exponentially. Civil War. Training ground. Naruto and Damamaru stood before 6 panting yokai on the ground, 6 katana on the ground around them. I didn't expect it to go by so fast. Naruto said with a sweat drop on his head. How long do you think they and the others had been fighting in this tournament? Let's see. Damamaru said as he held up his webbed hands. We started this yesterday, and they fought all night, and it's roughly 2 in the afternoon. So, I say, 32 hours, give or take. Damn. Naruto responded in surprise. The Biju rolled their eyes. Idiot. Stupid. Moron. Dumbass. Ignoramus. Nincompoop. Simpleton. Jackass. Retard. Naruto deadpanned before he ignored them as he walked up to the 6 remaining fighters. Congratulations, you 6. Naruto said as he applauded with a bright smile. I'm happy that we were able to settle this quickly. You are truly the best 7. 7, one of the two women gasped. There are 6 of us? Naruto turned to Damamaru. From where I am standing, I count 7. Damamaru blinked, looked to his left, then his right, before stupidly pointing to himself. Yep. Naruto declared. He motioned for his friend to join them. Damamaru stepped forward and joined his new comrades before Naruto, who looked like a proud dad as he looked at the 7. I, Naruto Uzumaki, declare you 7 the 7 swordsmen of Kyoto. Naruto stated clearly and professionally. Now, let's get our introductions out of the way. I am Damamaru, and I am a Kappa. Damamaru started as he bowed. It is a pleasure to meet you all. What's up, I am Yoruchi Shihoin. Yoruchi stated childishly as her hand shot up. I am a Nekisha, and it's awesome to meet you guys. Yoruchi was a young Nekisha with short purple hair, ears, and a single tail. She had tan skin that was complemented with golden eyes. She wore a shabby shihakusho that was dirty. I am Zuko. Zuko introduced. I am a kitsune. I am honored to meet you all. Zuko, like Yoruchi, was a young kitsune. His tail and ears matched his dark brown hair. He wore a red, brown, and dark yellow kimono outfit with the pants tucked into boots. The most standout feature this young man held was the massive scar on his face, covering his left eye, making it look like he was squinting.
Ensimmäinen Kenpasit Saraki. Kenpashi state in irritation. Ensimmäinen Oni.
True to his statement, Kenpachi was huge, towering over Naruto. He had normal skin, though he had horns on his forehead, next to a scar going down the left side of his face, signaling a life of combat. His shihakusho was in tatters, and he wore an eye patch over his right eye. He had long hair spiked up with tiny bells on the tips. I am Bankatsu. Bankatsu stated cockily. I am a leopard, and I say it is an honor for you to be in my presence. Bankatsu's cocky, superior attitude fit his royal status, and was shown with how he carried himself and his clothes. He had a tattoo of a 4-pointed star on his forehead. He wears a white hakama with a matching kosode that has a blue patch on his shoulder. He also wears a type of iron armor over these clothes along with a shoulder guard attached. This is attached to the rest of the armor by a strip of red cloth. The armor is tied at the waist with a red obi or sash. His armor has violet fern-like patterns on it. Bankatsu does not wear shoes, he has the traditional ninja footwear. Along with that, Bankatsu wears black gloves that are held in place by his middle fingers. Tisk, purebred bastard. I am Inuyasha, and I am a dog Hanayo. Inuyasha introduced with a scoffed. He had a long mane of silver white hair, and had 2 dog ears. He had golden eyes and he wore a red outfit and was barefoot. Don't feel unwelcome here, Inuyasha. The second female said as she turned to everyone else. I am Urza Scarlet. I am a kitsune, and it is nice to meet you. Urza had long red hair, ears and tail, showing she was quite young like the rest of the yokai, except Kenpachi, who seemed to be a fully mature Oni. She wore European armor that was clasped to her body. It is a pleasure to meet all of you, Naruto said as he shook all of their hands. Now, the hard part. Hard part? Yoruchi asked with a tilt of her head. Yes, the hard part. Naruto answered as he summoned the scroll holding the 7 swords before revealing it to them. Which sword will you take? Which sword will you master? Which sword shall be your partner? Meanwhile, within his cell, Ozai meditated quietly. His ears twitching at minute sounds one could hear miles away. So, these swords are now passed out. He thought as he listened carefully to the conversation Naruto was having. I must inform Azula of this. I am surprised that Zuko is among them. A sinister smirk crept onto his face. That failure might as well be useful somehow. That night, Naruto yawned as he, Kenpachi, Damamaru, Inuyasha, Bankatsu, and Zuko relaxed in the open-air hot springs. You tired, Lord Naruto? Zuko asked in concern as he sat next to the Emperor. Yeah, mentally more than physically. Naruto replied as he looked up into the sky, seeing the stars. Just a lot of stuff cramming into my head. Okay, sir. Zuko replied sincerely. No need to kiss his ass, kid. Kenpachi grunted as he sat at the edge, his scarred body on full display, save his waist area thanks to a towel wrapped around it. He may be our leader, but that doesn't mean we need to lick the shit off his boots. How vulgar. Damamaru stated in irritation as he glanced at Kenpachi. I don't think you should even be here, you barbarian. Kenpachi smiled at this, standing up above the kappa. You can say anything you want, but words are empty air. Kenpachi boasted as he could barely contain his excitement. So, until you defeat me, you can't issue out orders. As Damamaru started to stand, Naruto held his hand up, stopping him. That may be true, Kenpachi. Naruto replied calmly, but very seriously. But Damamaru is the one I chose to lead the swordsmen, so if you have a problem with that, then you can talk to me. Naruto entered Sage mode instantly, flaring his power. Do we have an understanding? Naruto asked as he stood up. Kenpachi's eyes were wide open and his mouth was smiling like a child given a toy. Oh, I have some choice words for you. He stated gleefully as his own power emanated from him, taking the form of laughing skulls. They are matched. Bankatsu noted as he sat on the sidelines. Inuyasha, with his hair up, grunted in irritation at the display of raw power. Fuck. He thought as he mentally cursed himself. I have a long way to go before I can be on their level. On the opposite side, Yasaka was bathing with Urza and Yoruchi. Papa seems to be having fun. Yasaka mumbled as she noticed the subtle playfulness in Naruto's chakra. Your dad sure is strong. Yoruchi mentioned as she scrubbed Urza's back. Why isn't he remarried? That is true. Urza said as she washed her hair. Why isn't the Emperor with another woman? Yasaka took a few seconds to think. I don't know why Papa doesn't remarry. Yasaka answered. It is just something that he will do when he is ready. Yoruchi mumbled with a disapproving face. That is dumb. No way that man couldn't have any woman with his position and power. Yasaka laughed at this as Urza was appalled. You would think that, but Papa isn't that kind of person. Yasaka replied as she stretched in the hot spring. You'll find out when you guys start your training. Yasaka smirked evilly. Meaning you will go through hell like Akasha and I did. She thought as she mentally cackled. Meanwhile, Wallachia. Akasha sneezed. You okay, dear? Lisa asked her granddaughter as she knitted her a scarf. Yes, I am fine. Akasha replied as she rubbed her nose. Someone, most likely Yasaka, must be talking about me. Lisa sighed in relief, starting to get up, only to falter and collapse back into her chair. Granny? Akasha said in panic as she shot up and walked to Lisa's side. Are you okay? Lisa smiled and waved Akasha's concerns away. I am fine, my dear. Lisa replied with a chuckle. Just lost my balance a bit, nothing serious. Akasha sighed in relief, blinking when she felt Lisa's hand on her head. Why don't you go check in on your grandfather? He might want to see his precious granddaughter. Lisa urged. Okay, Granny. Akasha said before she turned and walked away, stopping at the door and glancing back at Lisa. Granny has started getting thin. This can't be a simple loss of balance. As Akasha left the room, Lisa's smile was replaced slowly with a pained expression. Kyoto, countryside. Azula, Temari, Kamatari, and Ibus stood before their army. My fellow rebels, Azula addressed with her arms out, motioning to all of them. The time is now. We shall take the 7 swords from their users and turn their blades on the false emperor. We shall take back our homes, and instate a rightful ruler to the throne. It isn't that human, nor is it that Hanayo spawn of a daughter. Cheers of agreement echoed through the crowd. Fuck the human. His daughter is unfit to be leader. He needs to die for the deaths of Lady Tamamo, Emperor Iroh, and Empress Miko. His head shall be on a pike. Azula smirked evilly. Tomorrow, his head shall roll, his blood shall stain the earth, and his corpse shall be displayed to all he allied with to show that we yokai don't need them. Azula declared, fist up in the air. We are the revolutionaries who shall set things right. As the crowd cheered, Temari and Kamatari stayed silent. We are doing this to avenge Gozu. Temari chanted unsurely as she clutched her scythe. Gozu's death is on that bastard's hands. Kamatari shook himself, trying to shake off any and all doubt. Why won't it go away? He thought as he grit his teeth in frustration. As the army prepared themselves for the next day, Ophis watched from above. Ashura is in for quite the fight. Ophis thought, before shrugging. No biggie. He can defeat them all easily. However, Ophis could not take solace in this fact. Doubt had crept into her mind. What if they have a plan? Ophis thought as she chewed on her thumbnail in concern. Next day, training ground. This is fucking stupid. Kenpachi stated as he and the other 6 swordsmen stood before a large horde of night creatures, thanks to Hector the Forge Master making them for the group, waiting patiently for their deaths. These things won't even be a warm-up. And why should we learn this hidden mist jutsu and silent killing method? That takes the fun out of fighting. Damamaru sighed in annoyance. I have my work cut out for me. Damamaru thought as he pulled out 7 scrolls, each bearing a name of the 7 swords. Today we are going to be slaying the night creatures. Naruto made these scrolls to help you learn how best to use your swords. Damamaru handed the scrolls out, Urza eagerly opening hers and reading its contents. Inuyasha and Bankatsu opened theirs in annoyance but read it. Kenpachi begrudgingly opened his. Yoruchi read hers in fascination. Zuko sat down as he read, intrigued with the tactics his weapon provided. As Damamaru opened his, he stopped and turned, a shocked expression on his face. What the hell, he thought as he felt hundreds of yokai chakra signatures closing in. Training is postponed, we have to fight real enemies. Council room. An army? Naruto asked as he faced the messenger yokai, who happened to be a falcon. Yes, my lord. They said as they bowed. A massive rebel army. I was able to get in and overhear their plans. They plan on taking Princess Yusaka hostage to force your hand. Naruto went still as he turned and faced Yusaka, who was with Naruto to watch and see how the council meetings went. They want to hurt my family. Naruto thought as he became serious. I won't let that happen. Were you able to discern their reason for creating this army? A council member asked. The messenger sadly looked at Naruto, choosing his words carefully. They seek the death of Lord Naruto. The council went into an uproar, claiming they need to send their own army in before Naruto rose his hand, silencing them. I know this is concerning, but don't fear. Naruto stated calmly. Me and the 7 ninja swordsmen shall take care of this. However, I have an announcement to make. An announcement? Now of all times? You need to get going or else the rebels will get to close. Naruto ignored them as he approached Yusaka. Naruto's expression softened and he wore a sad smile. I know this should be under better circumstances, but I guess now is as good of a time as ever. Naruto said as he removed the white lotus pin from his Hayori. From this moment forth, Yasaka Uzumaki, you are the Empress of Kyoto. He placed the pin on the shocked Yasaka's clothes. I'm proud of you. Naruto said as he summoned his rapier, his treasured sword given to him by Adrian. Please hold on to this for me until I come back. Yasaka held the sword, before dropping it, letting it clatter on the ground as she grabbed Naruto's sleeve. You are planning on going to fight them, and expect to die. Yasaka shouted in a panic, making the council start to panic. No you can't go. I forbid it. Her heart felt tight, each beat of her heart felt painful and labored as her throat dried and became scratchy. Naruto smiled sadly and cupped his daughter's cheek, making her ears and tail droop. It's going to be okay. Naruto replied as he kissed her forehead. I love you, Yasaka. Naruto's Byakugan activated and he struck 4 of her chakra points, making Yasaka collapse. Her mobility will return in 20 minutes. Naruto stated as he turned to the council as he ended his Byakugan. Please, protect your empress. Of course, Lord Naruto. They replied as they bowed. It was an honor working with you. Naruto turned, his Hayori whipping behind him as he walked out of the room. Meanwhile, Ozai opened his eyes as the door leading to his cell opened, revealing Azula. So, you came, Azula? Ozai said with interest. Good. Now, hurry and release me. I need to stretch my muscles before we kill the Emperor. Of course, father. Azula said as she opened his cell door and walked towards him, keys on her hand before she stopped. Azula raised her hand holding the keys, before she dropped them. Ozai could only watch in slow motion as Azula arched her arms in a circular motion, lighting crackling to life at her sharp fingertips, before she launched it, striking Ozai dead before the keys clattered to the ground. Sorry, father. Azula spat before actually spitting on Ozai's corpse. But there is only room for one ruler, and that is me, Empress Azula. With her mission complete, Azula left the prison, returning to her army. When she returned, Azula was greeted by her army fighting 7 people wielding unique swords. So, these are the 7 ninja swordsmen of Kyoto. Azula thought with an amused smirk. And Zuzu is among them. Azula watched as Zuko brought Hiramakari the twins' word down onto an opponent before he jumped back, kicking the air to send waves of fire to burn the surrounding yokai, landing on his feet before he split Hiramakari into 2, carrying each one in one hand with ease. I don't have time to use Hiramakari as intended, but for now this will have to do. Zuko thought as he used the flat end of one of his swords to block an attack. Gaia. AAAGH. This fucking hurts. A yokai yelled as he was yanked into the air with thin metal wire and strung up in a tree with his fellow yokai. Of course, it hurts. Urza stated as she held Nuabari the sewing needle in one hand with the other holding the wire. Because I crucified you. She tugged the wire, killing the yokai she sewed before they hit the ground, their blood staining the grass. It's not good enough. Urza mentally scolded as she evaded her next opponent. I wasn't able to do it like the scroll explained. Boom! Exclamation point. Kenpachi laughed as his sword exploded again, the scroll that held the blade of Shibuki the blast sword unfurled and replaced the explosive tags with new ones. This sword is amazing. Humph, what a barbarian! Bankatsu stated as he struck an enemy's shield with the axe portion of his sword. Cute, but no defense can stop me. He raised the hammer and struck the back of Kabutawari, breaking through the yokai's defenses and killing them. Ha, you're one to talk, Bankatsu. Inuyasha insulted as he cut down his opponent, his blade soaking their blood as it repaired itself. Man, this sword is deserving of the title it has. Inuyasha brandished Kubikiribocho with ease as he sliced into his next opponent. Lightning cracked as yokai were cut down as Yoruchi came to a halt. Damn, these swords are sharp. She stated gleefully as she looked at her swords, Kiba the lightning fangs, as her opponents collapsed into pools of blood. Distracted, many yokai lunged at the Nekishu, only to get shredded by Samahata the shark skin. Don't let your guard down, Yoruchi. Damamaru shouted as he felt Samahata devour the chakra of the ones it struck, making it happily gargle in content. Oh, sorry. Yoruchi proclaimed as she reactivated the lightning to enhance her speed and the sword's cutting edge. Azula smirked as she watched the corpses pile up. I guess I can make my appearance now. Azula thought as she went to make her move. Before Naruto appeared in the center of the rebel army, and the 7 ninja swordsmen. So, you finally arrived, false emperor. Naruto turned and saw Kamatari and Temari. I see. You two are the leaders of this army. Naruto replied as he faced them as his eyes became that of a toad as nature lent their power to him. You and your friends are trespassing, so I'll give you this warning, get out now. Sacrifices for a better, safer future. Compound. Get Akasha. Yasaka ordered as she lay on the ground. Get her now. Yes, Lady Yasaka. Some of the council ran off to call Akasha in Wallachia, as the rest did their best to undo the paralyzing effect on Yasaka. I think we need to give her chakra to make the paths open again. One said as they could feel the blocked paths due to the lack of chakra flow. It's worth a try. Agreed. The rest said as all of them put their hands on Yasaka's shoulder and simultaneously inject their chakra inside of her, flooding her system with their chakra and opening her chakra paths, undoing the paralysis. Yasaka, what is going on? Akasha asked as she entered the room. We need to go save Papa. Yasaka stated as she got up, grabbing Naruto's sword and putting it in her obi to carry it. Come on, follow me. Akasha nodded and the two took off, ignoring the cries of the council. Meanwhile, I see. You two are the leaders of this army. Naruto replied as he faced them as his eyes became that of a toad as nature lent their power to him. You and your friends are trespassing, so I'll give you this warning, get out now. Azula cackled at Naruto's statement. As if our forces would back down because of a threat made by a weak, pathetic human. Azula stated as she ignored the bloodshed around her caused by the 7 ninja swordsmen. We will fight until the very end, even if our blood must soak into the dirt. An echoing cheer from all the surviving members of the rebels resounded far and wide throughout the valley, making Naruto sigh in sadness. Azula smirked as she gathered nature energy within herself, creating Sage Mode. The lower parts of her cheeks were covered in a red marking resembling flames as a small fire-shaped mark appeared on her head. Now we can. Azula started to say before a large battle fan was held out before her, making her narrow her eyes as she glanced at Kamatari and Temari's backs. And what do you think you're doing? This fight is ours, Azula. Temari stated shakily. He killed Gozu, so it is our responsibility to kill him ourselves. Kamatari finished as he opened his fan. Naruto's eyes narrowed as Azula shrugged and stepped back. So, you are using them. Naruto muttered as he could feel massive negativity wafting off of Azula. Saying your last words? Kamatari asked as he and Temari entered their sage modes. Naruto didn't say anything, not entering a fighting pose as Temari drew one of her scythes. What's wrong? Afraid of killing us? Kamatari spat as he prepared himself to fight with Temari. It was not an issue when you killed Gozu, but it is with us? Naruto looked at them, his face soft and holding a sad empathy and disappointment. Is this all because you hate humans? Naruto asked. Kamatari and Temari were confused. Of course, it is. Temari shouted as she gripped her weapon. Our parents, and now our brother is dead because of humans. And are you sure that by killing me? Naruto stated as he took one step forward, making them feel pressure from the power of nature he had. Will take away your hatred? Are you sure your nightmares will vanish with my death? Temari faltered, eyes wide as she felt her heart race in a panic. Oh, of course, she said as she shook. We know it will take our hatred away, Kamatari declared. Naruto stopped 4 feet before them and grabbed Temari's scythe, putting it around his neck, glaring at them with an intensity that sent chills down their spines. If you are so sure, then kill me, Naruto shouted, expelling his sage mode outward, causing it to end, hitting all of the swordsmen and the rebel army members, making them stop and watch. I'll shoulder all of your hatred. I will take it all away. So, kill me. Kamatari gripped the scythe with Temari, both of them shaking as they frantically thought about killing Naruto. Will it take away the nightmares? Will my anger vanish if he dies? Will I be able to move on after this? The siblings generally thought as their throats became parched and scratchy, eyes became watery as they could hear their hearts beat loudly in their ears. Slowly, their fingers released the scythe, the weapon dropping to the ground with a dull thud. I can't. Temari shuddered as she collapsed. I can't. Kamatari could barely stand, taking a knee as he gasped for air. Naruto sighed in relief. Damn, he stopped this whole fight with words alone. Kenpachi groaned in aggression, Shibuki tapping his shoulder. Well, only a few people died, so that is a plus, Inuyasha stated with a sigh of relief as he helped Yoruichi stand. Thanks,